Doctor, are you living the dream or just dreaming of living? It is my honor to announce the PDA 20th Anniversary Special Conference this September 12th to the 14th in Frisco, Texas, the nation's leading course on dental practice growth. If you feel isolated as a leader who is frustrated that your schedule is unproductive, maybe your team is disjointed, or your systems are inefficient, this is the conference for you. The PDA 20th Anniversary Conference has all new features, including keynote speaker Emmitt Smith, who is a Pro Football Hall of Fame running back and entrepreneur. You can choose your own educational track to customize your learning experience. And when you register before July 1st, you will receive a 90-minute pre-meeting session that can help you boost and increase your productivity before you even attend the conference. Go to www.productivedentist.com and click the pop-up, or select Productive Dentist Academy Conference under the Dental CE and Events tab. That's www.productivedentist.com. Seating is limited. Register today, and we look forward to helping you make your dreams become reality.
Any coach can make you healthier. Can a good coach take you to peak performance? That's what I found in Productive Dentist Academy.
Welcome to the Everyday Practices Podcast. I'm Reagan Robertson, and my co-host, Dr. Chad Johnson, and I are on a mission to share the stories of everyday dentists who generate extraordinary results using practical, proven methods you can take right into your own dental practice. If you're ready to elevate patient care and produce results that are anything but ordinary, buckle up and listen in.
Quick note before we jump into today's exciting episode. The owner's gross production per month we referenced was in 2013, not 2018. If you're curious to know how Dr. Johnson increased his own growth by 143% and his hourly by 242%, you will love today's episode. Now, on to the show. Welcome to Everyday Practices Dental Podcast. I am your host, Reagan Robertson, here with the delightful, ever-productive Dr. Chad Johnson. Chad, hello.
Hello, Reagan, and hello, listeners, everyone around the world and possibly Mars for the future Mars listeners. It's possible. Listen, Elon Musk is going to make it happen. So hello, Martians.
You know, there's a lot of things that we don't know. We are not in the know. They could be on Mars, and
now this is going to age well. This is going to age so well because we welcomed the Martians. So thanks for having me on. I'm a weirdo. Go ahead.
You know, Chad, this is our 20th anniversary at Productive Dentist Academy.
Yay! And in September, I'm looking forward to this. This is great.
Oh my gosh, I'm so looking forward to the September conference. Absolutely. We've got a lot of special things lined up. And the biggest reason that I'm excited is we are celebrating a lot of the successes that have come across those two decades with our doctors.
Yes.
We have long been what we call member built and driven. And so it has taken us these 2 decades to stay in close relationship with the doctors, keep our ear to the ground. We had practices, both Victoria and Bruce had dental practices, over that time. So we've really tried to, I think, stay super close and provide services that truly help the independent dentists in small groups be productive. And
in tangible ways, the fact that you were with us through COVID is awesome. And I'm calling out Baron Grutter right now. He had better come because he is the reason that I was invited to check out Productive Dentist Academy, and he had better come in September. And don't give me these excuses about Michigan being so far away, and blah, blah, blah. So he had better come. That's all I'm saying.
Shout out to Baron.
Shout out to Baron Grutter.
We're going to have to follow up with him. Our theme is turning dreams into reality. And Bruce, he chose that theme. And I think it's really appropriate because editorially, I have heard in my 13 years with PDA, that particular sentiment come up a lot with our clients, that you have actually, my dream is now my reality, thanks to PDA. And this is not tooting PDA's horn. This is actually, putting the hero's journey in the appropriate place. And it's recognizing that you deserve a guide and support that can help you realize your vision of success. And that's different. We have found, lots of different dreams coming true, and what it looks like is unique for each person. And so today I wanted to put you in the hot seat and discuss you, because you've had quite the journey with PDA.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of ways where your dreams have probably come true.
Exceeded. No, for sure. And, I think Productive Dentist Academy has also done a good job at giving me permission, me and others, anyone who's willing to grow, permission to develop as a leader. Like that, some of us, we've got it in us.
Yeah.
Some more than others. I don't want to say we all have the same aptitude, but giving someone permission to be like, no, your business and your family and your future is worth it. Make the right decision about your business to move onward. Make your right decision about the relationships you're in for the embetterment of your future. So for sure, I'm pro PDA.
Well, the leadership
I'm a
journey,
raving fan.
The leadership journey is like reading a novel, and you can't skip chapters. You have to go through it, and it takes time. So there is no silver bullet, and there's no quick fix. There's a lot of small little incremental things that you can do. Plus the amount of experience. Sometimes you have to make mistakes. So thinking about
I wouldn't
that,
know. I wouldn't know about that.
Practically perfect in every way.
I mean, so that'll just have to be hypothetical, but yeah, just playing around.
So take us back to a day in the life of Dr. Chadwick Aaron Johnson before PDA. How were things going for you in the beginning?
So I opened up my own office in 2005. I had an associate start with me by 2008. My second associate was with me by 2011. I think she was with me for a couple years. And as she was leaving, she said, Chad, maybe you should consider getting a consultant, and they could help you. Yeah.
Was it a snide suggestion?
No, it was not. It was so sincere, and I was so mad about it.
It was needed advice? Is that?
Yes, it was very apt advice. So Dr. Ashley, thank you for offering that advice to me. I was just like, maybe she's right. Maybe. So I go looking for a bunch of consultant websites and stuff like that to try and find, the way I saw it. And I've explained this before on our 200-ish episodes, is that the way I saw it, consultants take your money and they have no skin in the game, and they tell you what to do, raise the fees, do better, do more procedures, see you later. And you're still stuck with, making it work. And so I was very skeptical of how a consultant could help me. And I was talking with Baron Grutter. I watched some videos of Dr. Bruce, and I was sold. And not in a, I don't, when I say that, I whatever, for just the pure way to say it, I was sold on that Dr. Bruce talked and walked the talk and walk. And that kind of makes me want some walking tacos. But
I could go for tacos.
Right. So I saw these videos, and I was like, okay, this guy seems like the real deal. If I can trust him. I trusted him without having met him. Just by watching his videos, I was like, this guy is my mentor. This guy is I wish he was like my father-in-law. I wish that he was, that he was, he could be my sage advisor, I could trust him. Not to say I could never trust anyone else before then or whatever, because I had people that I'd run ideas by, but in this consulting realm, I was always jaded from day one on this. Like I was just, and in the end, I developed to be a full advocate of Productive Dentist Academy, because as I was talking with Baron Grutter about Productive Dentist Academy, we were in CEREC mentor group together. And so we met down in Scottsdale and doing CEREC stuff. And he was telling me, about this, that I should check into it. And so I looked into it and started talking with Chris Moriarty on the phone and saying, hey, so I have an associate that's leaving. Things aren't going well. we're behind on our payments, and now we need to, get a game plan for figuring stuff out, but I'm willing. And he said, okay, we have an event in February ish or March, whatever it was. Why don't you come to that? And I was like, I don't know if that'll work, but okay. And Barron had told me, bring the whole team. Don't just take yourself, because then you'll need to go back with your whole team. So bring your whole team. And I thought, I don't have the money for this, but I'm going to make it work.
Let's stop there and go back. I'm going to reverse engineer you for a minute. Let's go back to some of those problems, because you called Chris and I heard money come up as an issue.
Oh, yeah.
So when your associate was exiting and she had this brilliant idea for you to reach out and find a consultant, why did she say that? What indicators did you or her have that were brought to light that I need to get my business straightened out?
I was not communicating well with the team. And I think that's the biggest deal. And I can say that now 10 years in advance. But there were communicative problems and a lack of my leadership communication skills with the team. And we had a electric, like a, what do you call it? Lightning strike on our office. And it fried our server. And yeah. And so that ended up, at the time, I had figured out that probably ended up costing me about $50,000. And I mean, each week was kind of living week to week, trying to make it work. So, I didn't have a pad of $50,000 to move forward. And here I have my associate leaving. The office is doing well as far as production, but we're not joined together. We're not, clicking. It's front against the back. It's me upset that, this and that. It's them upset that I'm not this and that. And, but the dentistry itself wasn't overly complex. We had just introduced CEREC, and that I think was a frustration for about 3 to 6 months, at the time, for the learning curve for introducing that and getting better at that. We were insurance driven by far. And so she, at leaving, I felt like she was telling me that just to be like, that's probably what you need, is to be able to have someone say, let's come together and we're all on the same page. We want the business to succeed. Right. And that's basically what, if we were to nutshell it, what, any consultant worth their salt would come and say, team, we're on the same page, right? And if not, that's question number one, is are we willing to play in the same sandbox and tackle the same problems as a group of teammates, and up until then, I bet I stayed on the phone with Chris for an hour. I remember in my basement talking to him in an hour, and I bet it was 10 or 11 at night. As he had mentioned before, I don't think there were tears. I wasn't at the point of crying. I was more resolute to just be like, I'm willing to change. Like when I made the phone call, I think I shot him an email, and then I made a phone call, and I was like, it's time to make it happen.
That was a risk on your part, with the financial concern, with the lightning strike, losing an associate. That's a big risk to take your team, because it's not, and at the time too, I think it cost more than it even does now to attend. So you had to really put yourself out there. So did you take your whole team to the productivity workshop?
I did. And I'm trying to think how many were on the team at the time. But the team was bigger than it is now, because I was PPO and now I'm fee for service. My team is actually, leaner than it is, than it was then. So I bet we took 12 or maybe 14, something like that. There was a good amount of people that came.
That is significant.
Yeah. But it blew my mind from the get-go. I remember, where was it? I don't think it was Seattle, because that was our Blue Sky event. I'm trying to think. Well, it was in Fort Worth, and I just remember taking notes and, and just being like, oh goodness, we need to do this and that. And I'm sitting next to my office manager, and you've seen it before now, right? You've seen that light bulb and then the light bulb, light bulb, light bulb, light bulb,
Yes.
light bulb. And, like, when does it ever end? And, yeah, it was very impactful because, the team was excited that I was hearing that I was the problem. And right.
Oh boy.
But I was willing to own it. Basically, it's another lesson in stoicism, right? Are you willing to own up to your problems? And then I was excited because, well, no, I felt heard that the workshop, they explained to the team that, this doctor wants to invest in you and make you succeed. And he wants to be successful because he also wants you to be successful. So, like, you guys are all on the same page. You need to help him out, and you need to make it happen for him. Like, he has metrics that he needs to hit so he can feel successful. So that way he can also pat your back. So pat his back. So then he goes, wow, you guys are on my team. I'm going to now pat your back. And, who primes the pump? Yes, it's not one or the other, but the answer is yes. And yeah, I don't know. It came a long way.
Quick sidebar. The past month, so it's like my summer theme. I made a leadership summer theme, and I wouldn't call it radical responsibility, but that seems to be what's sticking in my head. I have been saying I am fully responsible. And so if something goes great, wonderful. If something goes wrong, that is your opportunity. I take full responsibility. And just saying those words out loud, even if it doesn't feel good, can actually move you forward. And I think it's quite beneficial. So I say this because I'm impressed with your ability to be humble, even if it doesn't feel good in that moment. No, it feels terrible. It feels awful.
Yes.
But to take the radical responsibility and admit, okay, this is where it's probably going wrong. And you've come so far. I'm gonna throw some numbers out there for your growth. And I want you to think about this when you hear those numbers and think about what your goals were at that first PDA workshop. Like, what were your goals? And so think about that.
Yes. Well, and I'll preface it. It might be premature, but I'll preface it by saying this. When I signed up for the workshop, I told Chris, my associate and I did 1.4 million last year in production. I want to do the same production next year, even when she's gone. So when she leaves, I want to produce that much. And that was one of my big goals. I was like, we can't afford to lose production. So I don't need to do more. Yeah. I just need to do more so that way our office can do the same. So that's my preface. Now you share your stuff.
So let's do some math on that really quick. That's really interesting. So the team is looking back to your original 2013 numbers. So they're going to pull your very original numbers, like probably when you first came to a workshop.
Correct.
But we have that your owners, so your gross production monthly in 2018 was 46,300.
Yes.
In 2023, you are at 112,700. So what's that? What's the math on that?
The difference between the two?
Well, how much is that? How much is that per year?
What was the number? 120?
112,700.
So 1.4 of production on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, and that it was my office production.
Not just your personal
Not
production.
My production. That was at the time that it was 1.3 or 1.4. It might have even been 1.2, whatever it was at the time. Like, that was for the whole office. I think.
And now you're doing that by yourself.
Yes. Yeah. For sure. I mean, and we're also collecting more of that. Because right now, being fee for service, I produce and then we collect 90+% of that.
So it has to feel pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was working hard back then. And what's funny is Now I am working more structured and efficiently, but I'm not working harder.
No, and I think that's always the biggest misnomer out there is that you have to work harder,
Correct.
faster, charge more. I mean,
Yes.
it's just
Have you
the
ever seen a runner running, like a runner, a pure runner running and it's effortless and
yes,
they're
it
still
looks
running?
beautiful,
Yes. And they're still
actually.
running almost twice as fast as you are.
Mhm,
Now you can run harder and keep up with them, but you can't do it on mile 10, let alone mile one, so
mhm.
you need to learn if possible, how do I get my running form and how do I become a gazelle more like them? And again, sometimes there's a maximum aptitude that a linebacker body structure is not going to be the same as an Olympic athlete runner, in different body types. That's okay. But flow with the analogy. It's just like there are times when, there's that beautiful runner and you're working hard and I was working hard and now I'm just running, it's just, it flows.
You're sailing.
I'm
You're
sailing.
sailing. I went out since you just
I'm
spoke
a
about Chris
sailor.
Moriarty. Chris Moriarty has had, I don't know if he has now, but he had a sailboat and he took me out on a sailboat. I'd never been on a sailboat. I did motor
Oh,
vessels, lots of them growing
yes.
up, but never a sailboat. And when he put up that sail and turned off the little kicker engine, it was amazing to me. It was
Yes.
so effortless. It was so beautiful. And that's exactly what you described to me right there in that moment. It just all clicks. It just all works. So,
Yep.
in addition to communication in your
Mhm.
leadership,
Mhm.
what other things did you feel like you needed to accomplish yourself to be able to say, okay, these things will get me on the right track?
Delegation, scheduling, data tracking, and um, communication. And an incentive program to get people, those were some of the big things that Productive Dentist Academy introduced to my team was scheduling, delegation, um, incentive programs, and data tracking. And once we had that, maybe a fifth component, if I'm
Mhm.
coming off the fly, is coaching accountability to where the next month we're going to, talk about what I didn't do well enough. And it's okay to say that sounds like I'm being hard on myself, but it's like, well, let's get to the point. Let's celebrate what we're doing well. And then also, okay, why aren't we hitting all of our goals? And the thing that I need to say this, the thing that I loved most about Productive Dentist Academy was that it was choose your own adventure. And I remember talking with some teams that the doctor was. I'd say, hey, we're implementing this, and she'd say, oh, we're not implementing that yet. And every doctor owner gets to choose what they want to tackle. So the coach doesn't come in and say, listen, I'm running the ship now. Here's what you're going to do. And by next week, I need you to have this done. It's okay. So where do you see the problems? And I
Mhm.
say, blah, 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 A, B, and C. Okay. Where are the sources of those problems? I don't know. With A, I think it's one, and B, I think it's two, and C, I think it's three. And then, okay, so what are we going to do? How would you like to, address those top three things? Do you think we can tackle all three right now, or should we only address one? I don't know. I really feel like we need to focus all of our efforts on scheduling. Okay, why don't I have a phone call with the team and let's talk about scheduling? And then I need you to make sure to be on the same page as your office manager that you want to implement scheduling to production and stuff like that. And talking that through, but someone else might be like, let's just do all of it right now. And well, that's going to
Mhm.
be tough. I don't care. I want to do it. Okay. If you want to do it, then let's make it happen. And everyone gets to choose their own adventure. And after a year or two, I remember talking with a dentist from Ohio, and she, I think she had joined a year before me, and I had asked her if she was working on this or that, and she's like, no, not yet. We're really just focusing on this. And because she was going at her own pace to
Mhm.
accomplish her goals, and working on what she felt was what she needed to work on most. Did that make sense?
Yes, I'm glad that you brought up the personalization of it. And I was wondering if that was a particular attractive feature when you went from the workshop and then decided,
Yes.
okay, I'm going to go into consulting with PDA
Yes.
compared to the other consulting companies that you looked at.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, that was one of my biggest fears is that they would say, "All right, I'm in charge and I'm going to tell you what to do." And I needed to be the one to pick my problems. And funny enough, at first I didn't want to do coaching, and I sat out on coaching after going to the May workshop, maybe for a couple months. I don't know if it was 1
This
or 3
doesn't
months.
surprise me at all. Color me
No,
surprised.
uh-uh. I
I could
was
do
like,
this on my own.
well, not only that, but I can't afford to do coaching, like, is what I'm thinking. And then after a couple months, I was like, all right, I can't afford not to do coaching. So then, because I thought this seems easy enough. All you do is you hop on the bike and you pedal and then you just go. And little did I know that I just needed someone to help me learn how to ride the bike. And so,
Trust is important for that, especially,
yes,
and not just in general. It's important for everyone, but for you, I know that having that trust, because if we go back in time also and remember that was an investment. So another
oh, yes,
Chris Moriarty, again, he used to say, it's not that you can't afford it, it's that you choose not to afford it.
correct.
And I thought it was a great mind flip for me.
Yeah,
And I brought that home to my family. And so whenever they, the kids ask for something or whatever, I say, we choose not to afford this because
yeah.
we're putting effort and so there's that transition of ownership that has to occur there. So the proof points have to be right. So it took you a couple of months
To sign up. And then the cool thing is after a year, I had ended up doing everything that, well, maybe a year, maybe two, but like when we started getting momentum, I realized I did everything that my coach Carrie had wanted me to get started on at my own pace, introducing it as we were going. But if she would have said, Chad, by February, you need to do this and that. And by January of the following year, you need to have this and that done. No, I don't want you telling me what to do. So what's cool is somehow PDA tricked me into doing everything that they wanted me to do and making me think all the while that I had chosen to get it done. Now, that's a flippant way of saying that it was a choose your own adventure. And on my own timing, I was willing to accept everything that basically the workshop had talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But it was on my own terms when I was ready to move to the next assignment, so to speak.
Well, relationship building for that type of collaborative environment is so important. And Carrie Miller is really, really skilled at that. And so where I see that
She's
choose
patient.
your own, she's patient.
Well, yeah. I mean, to hop on the phone and be like, so Chad, remember last month how we talked about this? And I notice on your trackers that you haven't done any of that. So when do you think you're going to start doing that?
You're competitive too, which also probably helped that. I could see you saying, oh my gosh, okay.
At the time, if you remember too, the trackers were all done in Excel files, reported back to the coach. And then there was on the website, or I don't think it was the email on the website, they'd post a leaderboard.
Yep. I remember the leaderboard.
That turned it on for me. I was like, oh, I'm not letting Barron beat me again, So, it was all the docs at the time that were, the high rollers, and no way I could touch Pete Thompson. But I mean, at the same time, like aside from Pete Thompson, could I be the number two? I want to be number two.
So since our theme is turning dreams into reality, let's bring it up to present day and talk about some of the things that have happened in your life where you have that moment and you say to yourself, this is success. Like, I feel great about this. Is it time with your family? Is it your practices? Is it, what is it for you that like fills up your bucket and says, I'm living a life I feel great about?
Yeah. I'm not the first one or the last one to leave my office, which is a big martyr sign to me that I hear from other dentists, saying, well, I'm the first one and the last one to leave, and stuff. And it's just like, I mean, that can work, but don't you kind of wish sometimes that you could delegate stuff to where you could not have to be the first one to show up and the last one to leave to unlock the door? Don't you wish you could trust your team to be able to say, here's the key, unlock the door, get the lights on, I'll be in for the meeting and stuff like that. So that's one almost silly at first element, because it's just like, is that the most important one? No, it's just the first one that came to mind. Being able to be intentional about taking time off because the office was producing so much per year, more than the previous year when I was working 50 or 51 weeks out of the year. And to be able to go, okay, maybe next year I can do 49. And then the next year I could do 48. And then the next year I could do 47. In the last year, I haven't made this goal into fruition yet, but I could. I've been thinking what I need to do is start working 1 week less per year. That's attainable.
Yes.
And that's not too much. It's just like,
is it compounding? So compounding, like over
so
years.
in other words,
attack a week on every year.
Almost forcing myself into retirement after 20 years of just working 30 weeks a year, and why not when you're, 64, 65 at that point for me, why not just be like, I'm going to be intentional.
You just totally unlocked a really great goal. I like that a lot because I have like a 5-year, an 8-year, a 10-year plan. And I've been trying to articulate, eventually I want to be down to, 20 hours a week sounds great. Like, I think 20 hours a week, I could still provide incredible value, like really feel satisfied with the work that I'm doing, but have enough time to play around and have a lot of fun and stuff like that. So I like how you are incrementally working those milestones in. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Other things, I think when I present, when I give presentations, I show pictures of where I've traveled and stuff like that, not to show off. Other dentists travel too. But I think in my mind subconsciously is I'm just like, no, guys, this is my freedom. I've found ways to become free. And my son is 15 at the end of this summer he's visited 49 states. We're finishing off the 50th state, and I'm vicariously living through them to be able to, I didn't get to do that when I was younger, to be able to travel to all those states. I think even my workouts, like staying healthy, being able to find a balance of, taking care of myself and being healthy and enjoying that. I'm certainly healthier. I'm getting better sleep. I'm not worried as much about the office altogether. Are those stuff resonating with you? I'm trying to think if there's other stuff.
I think what you just demonstrated is that in order to live a fulfilling life that does achieve your dreams, it doesn't have to be something that's huge and grandiose. And I love your millennium bent on it too, because millennials are specifically passionate about experiences.
I am actually super millennial in that regard, and texting, not calling me.
Yeah.
Those two ways, or email, fine, either way, but I certainly identify with that value of being like, for example, do you want 3 toys for Christmas, or would you rather go do something cool? And for our family, it's just like, what, grandmas are going to buy the toys, because again, that's their generation, right? Well, I bought you the thing, and then we go, why not just go do this? I was even inspired by Victoria's talk about the dentist that she helped line up to, take off a summer or a year. It was a year, and go live in Italy.
Dr. Samuel Moss.
Yes, Moss.
And he came back to an office that was more productive than when he left. That blows my mind.
Yes. And I'm looking at, setting up a mini thing like that for a couple summers from now for our 20th wedding anniversary. So that's
going to be amazing.
And I also feel like this, I don't know if this is just a maturity thing as I've aged over the last 10 and 20 years of practicing and stuff like that. or if this is Productive Dentist Academy helped me get there, or they assisted in the process of my maturity with getting there. Let's say all of it, right? Like I don't know where to pin this on, but um, I now am cool with an associate being successful. I'm cool with an associate who will get a new patient and close a case. I'm okay with an associate getting the patient and not closing the case. I'm okay, like I feel like it's just like I wonder how awesome I could have been in my first associate versus my associate now. And so like I've just grown. And I remember
that's getting back to not skipping the chapters, which is so frustrating about growth, because I have thought that about myself when I did the interview last week with Adrian. And I thought, I wish I could have taken all of this and just rewound time by a decade. So I could have been a much better leader then. And I just think that's not the way life is designed, unfortunately. But now that we know what we know, we can do better.
Yes. So I don't know.
So stop right here. Like, let's just take a pause with this. So you have a really good balance right now in your life. You're feeling like you have that space, and your dream is now to incrementally take off an extra week each year so that you can graduate yourself into like this sort of relaxed retirement. And in the short term, you have a 20th wedding anniversary coming up. Congratulations. Yeah, and you're going to do an extended summer in Italy. So pause right there and hold that. It's within your grasp.
Yes.
You have a good relationship with your associate. Everything's on track. Where do you think, honestly, you would be today if you hadn't gone with PDA?
The dentist down the street and I would have been the same cohort, but I'm not now. But I'm not thinking of one, but just any dentist down the street, I would be doing well. I'd be doing okay. I'd be saying, team doesn't do this and that. And they're lucky that I, take care of them and do what I do, and no one appreciates me, but I'm the first one there and I'm the last one to leave. And, just all the martyr talking. Can you believe how much cotton rolls cost these days? And the schedule is just crazy. I didn't have quite a lunch today,
Well, I'm trying to think of the effects on your physical health as well, that would be, because I think of you as an eternal optimist, but to think of a genuinely grumpy Chad, that would affect your whole body. Yeah. You would look different than you look today.
Well, either that or I would have kept up some semblance of working out only to check out of the office.
Oof. Yeah.
So, there's a lot of possibilities, but I don't want to, be just like, well, I'm so much better than the average guy around or whatever. But when I collectively in my mind think about how other dentists are doing, they're doing fine. Mm-hmm. So what I would recommend is if you want to keep doing fine and doing well, dentists a lot of times aren't doing horrible. You hear about them because they are out there, especially the ones that are humble enough to call. But overall, the people who don't call are doing fine enough. I'm doing fine. I made 6 figures.
It's that book From Good to Great. It really is.
That's it.
Yeah. Typically doctors aren't in a destitute place. We hope they're not. We hope dentists aren't in a destitute position. They're doing okay. And they want to be great, and they look at it, and it is just like, that's why I think we do so many parallels with athletics, because it is the same. You can do it well.
Yes.
Or if you want to get to peak performance, these are the steps you want to take. And let's close with this. You chose peak performance.
Yes.
You chose to say good enough isn't good enough. I really want to be great, and I want to enjoy my life.
Yep.
How do you feel that your business and your life has transformed over the last decade?
I've tried different iterations of my business. For example, buying multiple practices, having tons of associates with PPO, switching to fee for service, working mornings only. We used to do our
I remember that.
Sunrise appointments, 6 a.m. appointments.
Yes, I remember your 6 a.m. appointments.
And I loved them. The problem was after COVID hit, we had to adapt. Yeah. So the cool thing is we've always adapted, and up until 2020, most of my decisions that I had made overall, I felt like they were the right decisions and moving me forward, in a good way. Buying the practices was the first time in my business career that I said, I don't think I would have done that again. Well, no, it wasn't. That wouldn't have been the first. I don't think I would have done that again. It was the first. I made a really wrong move. Like, like I shouldn't have done this. Retrospectively, it's always easy to notice that I didn't know COVID was going to happen, and stuff like that. But I was able to adapt.
Well, I have a question for you on that also. I promised I was wrapping up, but
I know,
but
right?
you said that PDA was played a big part in the choose your own adventure piece.
Yes.
And I will say, I don't want to project onto you, but I do, my reflection to you is I do see you as being a confident, a bit of a rebel too. And I wonder,
contrarian. Yeah,
a contrarian. I wonder though, if you decided to make that choice and purchase that almost to test your own waters. Almost to feel alive. Like, I'm going to take this risk.
My thought was, I've created a successful business. I want to replicate this to keep on growing. And it was back then that I was even talking with Victoria, PDA should check into the multi-practice, like, should we band together kind of stuff? We had a couple short conversations about that, and I'm sure it was on her mind plenty, but it helped resonate with her. No, the clients, Chad is thinking about it. There are guys like Dave Deal who are thinking about it and everything like that. So, I wanted to replicate it. And it was very humbling afterwards to go, well, one of them worked, one of them didn't, so I guess sometimes I'm okay at my business savvy as opposed to, yes.
I remember the advisory being against that. And the reason I throw that out there is I think we all do this. I think every human does this. I think you experience that success and then you want to go and, maybe go against the grain a little bit and say, you've been good advisors. I'm going to try this on my own. And not that it fails 100% time or that it succeeds, but I just think that's a normal part of life. And I like that you share that journey so much because it's like that little meme. This is what success looks like. People think it's a straight arrow and then it just looks like a big tangled ball of string.
Well, that's the heart of an entrepreneur. Absolutely. And you know what? Victoria too, as she had bought 5 practices, she goes, Chad, 2 is not going to be as hard as 5. But I'll tell you, maybe you should just do 1. And I was like, yeah, that's neat. But 2 is just 1 more than 1. I mean, big deal. If you did 5, surely I could do
kids,
it. Yeah, I'm just like, whatever. Sure. What's an extra? So, but she never said, Chad, don't do it. She actually never was so blatant as to be like, you're being dumb. She might have thought it. And that's okay. But she might have thought it, but she didn't. Like, she let me choose my own adventure.
Shouldn't our job as trusted advisors be to lay out the scenarios, put the pros and cons in front of you, and then you ultimately, you make the decision?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that.
Amen.
Any final thoughts?
I'll go back to earlier when I said it. Without sounding too corny, your future is worth you looking into coaching. When the student is ready, when you as the doctor owner, when you are ready to learn, any consultant is going to be an improvement, most likely, when you're ready to learn and grow. If they are altruistic enough that they're looking out for your good, then any consultant is going to be an improvement. Now the question just becomes, just like any coach can make you healthier, can a good coach take you to peak performance? That's what I found in Productive Dentist Academy.
Well, thank you, Chad, for sharing your journey with us. And I look forward to seeing you in September.
Well, thanks for listening on Earth and Mars and all around the world today. Y'all have a great week. We look forward to getting back to our book series. We have an exciting this is just an illusion here of forecasting. We have an exciting announcement on our podcast in the next few months that will save, and just say that much. The whole conference, not workshop, but the whole conference, the multi-workshop conference at the Dallas-Fort Worth area in September 2024 is going to be fantastic. Consider joining that. And thank you for being great listeners.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Everyday Practices Podcast. Chad and I are here every week thanks to our community of listeners just like you, and we'd love your help. It would mean the world if you can help spread the word by sharing this episode with a fellow dentist and leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. Do you have an extraordinary story you'd like to share or feedback on how we can make this podcast even more awesome? Drop us an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. And don't forget to check out our other podcasts from Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentist.com/podcasts. See you next week.